This is Viterbi Voices, your chance to hear stories about research, classes, student life, and more.
Directly from our students, faculty, and other members of our engineering community. All right here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Welcome back into Viterbi Voices. As usual, I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Admission at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And my name is Audrey Roberts. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering here at USC.
And we have a bonus episode again for you today, coming at you in the middle of the week. And with this bonus episode, we have a bonus little co-host with us today. I shouldn't say little. Who are you, bonus guest host? Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey everybody, my name is Mark. I am a junior studying mechanical engineering with a minor in sports business and management, and I am from Diamond Bar, California.
Awesome, Mark. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. Is this your first time on the podcast?
Yeah, this is actually my first time. I'm kind of surprised because I've been here for a little while, but
well, we've kept you away as long as possible. We just didn't, we wanted to make sure we kept you away, but you fought your way on. That's the good news. You persisted.
Best for last, am I right?
So, Mark, tell us about this episode. It's our bonus episode. What is this? This is a live chat that you did, correct?
Yeah, last week we had a Black Students in Engineering live chat where we brought 4 students on to talk about their experiences in Viterbi.
Okay, cool. And so this is one of our live chat series that we're doing every other week. You all are hosting live chats with different panels of current students on different topics. This one in particular is about Black students in engineering, and I'm pretty sure you talk about their experiences, their struggles, the things that they encountered at USC Viterbi, and maybe some advice for other students in the audience. Is that right?
Yeah, plus all the clubs that they're joining in on, and as well as different support systems here at USC to help them get through their time.
All right, cool. So everybody, we'll get out of the way and enjoy the recording of this live event that was held on August 30th, just last week.
Okay, so I think everybody who is logging on to the webinar has joined in by now. And so I first wanted to start off saying thank you for those of you that are joining us tonight, whether it be through the webinar or the YouTube live stream. Thank you all for being here. And then for those of you that are watching later on down the road, hello, and let's get started. So once again, my name is Mark and I will be your host for tonight. I am a junior studying mechanical engineering from Diamond Bar, California. So I'm not too far from USC, only about 30 miles. And I also have a sports business and management minor, which is really fun. Some of my involvements include the National Society of Black Engineers, which a lot of other students on this panel are a part of. And I used to be a resident assistant for the McCarthy's Honors College.
Hi, everybody. My name's Taufik Rasaki. I'm a junior studying mechanical engineering. I'm in Chicago right now. I have a minor. I'm gaining a minor in business technology fusion. Some of my involvements are I'm also a member of NSBE. I'm a part of this club called Students Innovating for Global Challenges, BSA, and American Society of Mechanical Engineers.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica. I am a junior studying civil engineering with an emphasis in building science, and I'm from Clinton, Maryland, which is right outside of DC. On campus, I'm also involved with the National Society of Black Engineers, where I serve as vice president. I'm in the Institute of Transportation Engineers, and I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Hello everyone, my name is Kendall, and I am a junior studying mechanical engineering. I am originally from St. Louis, Missouri. And on campus, I am also a part of the National Society of Black Engineers. I serve as the Pre-College Initiative Chair. And during the school year, I am an educational assistant at the Viterbi K-12 STEM Center. And I'm also a part of USC 3D Printing for Everyone. And during the summers, I've been a part of the Viterbi Summer Institute, serving as a resident advisor. And I've also been in a gospel choir called Saved by Grace.
Hi everyone, I'm Sephora and I'm a senior studying chemical engineering and I'm from Houston, Texas. Some of my involvements include NSBE, Engineers Without Borders, Society of Cosmetic Chemists, Science Outreach, volunteering as well.
Okay, so that wraps up our introduction of the panelists and moderators, and now we can jump right into the question and answers. So I have a few pre-prepared questions that I can start asking for now. And then as your questions come in, we can get to them as we go on. And so the first question for tonight for our panelists, did you guys have any reservations about being an engineer as a Black student?
I think everyone is shaking their heads. But it's definitely, I know coming from high school, I wanted to be an engineer. And I knew that it was a male-dominated field, a white male-dominated field. And so my reservations were kind of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to try it and then I'm going to see what happens. And once I got to SC, I feel like I gained a bit more confidence, but I knew it was going to be challenging. Sometimes, some moments, I didn't know how challenging it would be, and definitely had a lot of them. But,
yeah. I definitely was the same as Jessica. I was afraid going in, but I went to a pretty predominantly white high school, and in all my STEM classes, I was always like one of maybe 2 or 3 Black kids. So I kind of got used to like how to navigate that kind of environment, and going to USC was just like another version of that, definitely multiplied, but it was still something I had a little bit of experience with.
Yeah, for me too. I think I had a similar experience to Feek, like being like one of the only Black students in my class in high school as well. And I also like thankfully had the support of my dad, who's an engineer. So he kind of like encouraged me and told me like, you can do it if I can do it, because like, he immigrated to this country, did it all on his own and stuff. So having that support was really great. Yeah, so, but I don't have as much like reservations now.
Yeah, I think similar to that, my dad was also an engineer, or at least he studied it in college. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the struggle really came for me as soon as I got there and kind of started dealing with just like everybody was really, really smart, right? Everybody in engineering can be intimidating sometimes because it feels like everybody knows what's going on and you don't. So I feel like the pressure for me started when I got there, and it was kind of like, can I really do this? Can I, keep up with these other people who seem to be doing really well? And we're still here, so.
Yeah, thank you for that. So what kind of organizations on campus have you felt had the most impact on your experience at USC? And how have they kind of assisted you in overcoming those fears going into college?
I can go first. A lot of us are a part of it, but the National Society of Black Engineers, or NSBE for short, I joined. Actually, I heard about NSBE through one USC alum that had graduated. And when I was applying, she was like, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to be a part of NSBE and you're going to be active. And then that's what I did. So like day one, or even before day one, Kendall was saying that he was a part of, or did the resident assistant for Viterbi Summer Institute, but I connected with people while we were there the summer before we started at SC. And I think the people are the best part of NSBE. I have a mentor who is 2 years above me in civil engineering, and she was really like instrumental. Like even after she graduated and like was doing her master's, like I could call her anytime, and I probably will call her in the next couple of weeks because civil engineering is being my butt. But I feel like the people are really helpful. Like they've been through it before, and it's like an easy way to like pass that on to the next generation when people come to me for stuff. So NSBE's definitely been instrumental in my USC experience.
I guess along those lines, I would say the Center of Engineering Diversity and all of the affiliated orgs with that. So it's the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and also other organizations within CED have just been super instrumental, because I feel like we can come together and kind of have like a common identity at the end of the day. And it's just a great space where we can come, we can work together, we can collaborate on projects and homework and anything. So that has been super instrumental. And then I wanted to expand on the Viterbi Summer Institute a little bit. So what the Viterbi Summer Institute is that it is for incoming freshmen that have been admitted and accepted into USC, plan on going. And they'll come the summer before their freshman year, and they'll take classes in math and science, possibly do lab experience as well, and then just stay on campus and get to know one another before coming. So through VSI, I have met Jessica, I've met Mark, and I also met Cameron because I was his RA last year. And it's just a super awesome way to get connected to people that you're going to know before you come to campus, and kind of just start building that community and having people that you might see in your classes so that you don't feel as alone or feel as intimidated when you only see one or two other people that look like you. So yeah, if that's something that anybody is interested in, definitely put that in the Q&A. I can ask questions about that, and I'm sure anybody else can as well.
I really wish I was a part of that program.
Should have signed up.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people our freshman year actually never ended up signing up for it because they didn't want to miss out on their summer. But I look back and that was one of like the best entrances to college like that I could have asked for, because I have a group of friends that always have my back and that can like help you in your classes when you need a hand. Next question. So as everyone's already mentioned, we are all in NSBE. So how and when did you get involved in NSBE? And then in what ways has that impacted your college experience?
Yeah, so I learned about NSBE through my older cousin who graduated a few years before I started college, and he actually got his first job through NSBE. He had an alumni connection, and then they were able to get him that interview and then get him that first engineering job. So he advised me to be a part of NSBE as much as possible, knowing that I'd be really busy with classes and stuff like that. But everyone in NSBE is super busy with classes, so it's definitely not like a huge like time commitment. It's what you really make of it. So getting involved with NSBE is just really up to how much you want to put into it.
Yeah, so I joined NSBE super duper early on because I had heard about it in high school because I had a friend that was part of NSBE Junior. And I didn't really I didn't get like heavily involved, like going to every meeting until around the first conference that I went to, which was the Fall Regional Conference in 2018. I think me and Jessica were the only freshmen that went. So that's kind of like when we got exposed basically to all the members, and I started to really develop like that family aspect within the organization, and hooked ever since. So that's been great. How it has helped me, NSBE has helped me so incredibly with my professional development. They have brought many companies to the meetings, everyone from like Hulu to Google to Microsoft to Facebook to whoever. They just bring companies to the meetings all the time. And it's been super helpful for me to hear other people ask questions, hear recruiters talk about interview techniques, hear just people trying to connect on LinkedIn, trying to connect to recruiters, however, just like really anything and anything professional. NSBE has probably had an impact on me. And then as part of going to the conferences, we also have career fairs, right? So I went to my first career fair last fall. I went to the career fair spring 2019, a while ago. And then at the last Fall Regional Conference, I got a job offer. So I got my first job through a career fair at NSBE, working at GE Aviation as a technical intern. So all the professional development that I learned from NSBE ended up coming in to get me a job through NSBE. So it's just been super impactful.
For me, I first heard about NSBE at the freshman career fair, which is really great. There's so many like opportunities to get involved. But so I've gone to like some meetings, and I haven't been able to go to any conferences yet, but it's honestly been a great place to like get really good professional development. I've gotten help on like my resume, networking with, the companies that they've brought in, like Kendall mentioned. And I think another great thing too is like getting to connect with like older students and like kind of like have like that mentorship aspect. And for me specifically, like I've met older students that have been in my majors and that like have helped me so much with like kind of like navigating my classes, because they can get really difficult. So that's been like a great experience, I think, too, connecting with older students.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so we have a question from G. Hubbard. They want to know more about how competitive it is to get an internship or research position being a Black student in Viterbi. So can you guys speak on about any internships, experiences, or research positions?
It's competitive out there.
I
Definitely.
would say, well, I'm kind of unique because I got an internship after my freshman year. Um, I got my internship actually from going to a networking event that was specifically for underrepresented students. I think Mark was there too. It was like a diversity conference sponsored by this Latino fraternity. And I just kind of like connected with people. I think my opportunities have been by chance. I actually haven't gotten anything through NSBE. But it's definitely competitive. For my summer after sophomore year, I interviewed once with the same company and I didn't get the job. And I interviewed a second time and I did get the job with a different office. So it is what you make of it. And I feel like people are looking for Black students, and NSBE is a great opportunity because the companies that we bring in are ones that want to hire Black students and Black engineers. But you definitely have to be persistent. It's not like it's easy for anybody. So I think it's competitive in a sense, but it's really competition with yourself, because the factor that I got an internship with a different company was just I changed my approach a bit. So
yeah, if I could add on to that. Okay. I'm just saying, like, USC is a big school in general, as are many other schools. And so, like Jessica said, like, you really have to focus on yourself and, you know, be a go-getter to like go talk to them or at career fairs or go talk to them at conferences, because, you know, how do they know that you want a position in their research lab or an internship? Like, you have to be the one initiating it to get something in return.
I can definitely agree with that, with what Mark just said. I remember at the end of my first semester, I really wanted to start doing research, and I had to like email a professor, and they only replied, like, I emailed multiple professors, but only one replied out of like several. And I actually ended up getting to do research with him for a semester. So definitely being open to like maybe getting rejected, but like keep trying and hopefully you find something. And yeah.
I think another really great way too is like connecting with alumni from USC, because they really like want to help all the students out like that they can. And so like I've had opportunities of like connecting with people at companies that I was interested in, because I have a mentor who used to go to USC that I found through the Viterbi student alumni mentor program. And she's honestly connected me with like so many different people that have like allowed me to get interviews at like companies that I was interested in. So I think that's another great way too.
So we also have another question from the crowd from Daniel, and he is asking, how can you get involved with NSBE in high school? As a rising senior, he would love to take a part of this. And I think Kendall would be a perfect person to answer this question.
Yeah, so just look up NSBE junior chapters in your area. Definitely just go to the national website and then just check for NSBE junior chapters in your region. And if it's something that you are interested in getting involved in and there isn't one yet, then maybe consider trying to make one. Definitely a possibility. I'm sure you could get some support for that.
Perfect, thank you. And so Fatima also wants to know, how is the social life at USC in regards to being a Black student?
I think it's pretty good for like how small of a population we have at USC. There are definitely organizations like Black Student Assembly and NSBE that really bring together like this social aspect, but also like we're all here because we're trying to graduate in 4 years. Like everyone's there and motivated. So it's definitely lively, and there's always stuff to do with other Black students.
Do you have any specific examples?
Yeah.
For our...
So every year, Black Student Assembly, in collaboration with, I'm forgetting the second organization, but they throw a huge concert, and it's, anybody remember the name of the concert? I'm forgetting.
Gearfest.
Gearfest, yeah.
With USC Creative Experience.
USC Creative, yeah. And we had Brent Fayez come. So if you know anything about him, like it's really hard to get him. I was the treasurer for BSA, so it was really, really hard to get him. They have stuff like that for everybody.
I was just looking, I like going to a lot of creative experience events. One of them that's actually coming this week is called like the Fresh Faces Mixer, and Creative Experience is a group. It's under BSA, Black Student Assembly, but they're a group of artists, and even though I'm an engineer, although I do artists on the side. But their Fresh Faces Mixer is like where artists come together and maybe show like their first work or stuff like that. They've also had like a combination with Ground Zero, which is like a performance kind of cafe space on campus. And I really love going to First Fridays. And when Creative Experience comes, they have poetry, they have rappers, they have DJ sets. That's one thing. I don't know if we're gonna have it this semester, but that's one thing that I really love going to is First Fridays every Friday.
Another question we have had is, are there any challenges that you have faced as a Black student in Viterbi or at USC? And how has being a part of the Black community at USC helped out with that?
As of this semester, thanks, I'm the only Black student or Black person in my major in my year. And it really kind of hit me actually my sophomore year when I walked in the class, and I was like, oh, I'm the only one. I just realized that. I don't know. Something about from freshman year to sophomore year was a little bit different, and wouldn't necessarily attribute or wouldn't completely attribute it to being Black, but it just was like a weird feeling. It was like, I don't know, it was hard to make study groups. It was hard to, I don't know, I didn't do that well that year, and I don't know how to describe it, but it was just kind of hard for me. But I think a difference between last year and this year, even though we're online, I feel like I'm going to be doing a lot better. I just earlier today was studying with some people and people that have been like really good friends, like in my major. So I think that was my struggle, a little bit of like imposter syndrome. I was like, I don't know if I like not doing this because I'm Black, or is it because I just can't do it? I don't know. And I don't like reflect. I don't know. It was hard for me, and I definitely had support. Like I mentioned earlier, the person that was a couple years above me in NSB was really helpful. So it was definitely hard to me. I've gotten through that.
Yeah, I also had a really similar experience to Jessica. I'm the only Black student in my Black female too in my major class for our year. So that was a little bit tough. But honestly, like, thankfully I had met other girls like that were in my year that were also like Black students in engineering. And so we have like a really great support system with each other and just like encouraging and motivating each other. And then also having like a Black mentor who like was in my shoes 20 or so years ago was all like really encouraging as well. And she kind of like gave me really good advice and like getting through things and like, you know, how to navigate school, how to navigate looking for a job and like career wise. So if you can find like those support systems, especially like through NSB and CED and whatever resources USC has is really important, I think.
Okay, can you guys speak a little bit more about CED and how that has helped you out through your journey as being a Black student in Viterbi?
Yeah, I remember early on realizing that like it's really hard to study in like your dorm. It's like it's impossible sometimes because there's other people. Your bed's right there. You're going to want to sleep and everything. But it's also really hard to like go to like a library because there's just so many people that are in a similar situation where they have to study for some test that's tomorrow. So it's super like stressful and tense. CED was just like the best alternative to all of that because it's open 24/7 and it also is just filled with a lot of like nice people that are in the same classes as you, that are going through the same struggles as you. And it just becomes, it just became like a community for me to like go and like, this is where I study like late at night and like I feel comfortable, I feel secure around like all my Black and brown friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for me, the Viterbi Summer Institute was also sponsored by CED, so like that's how I got to know that space and that resource. But the staff, if you ever meet Tracy and Christina, are like two of the nicest people. Like I know them personally, like Tracy's daughter, her kids go to school in DC, and it's just like I love when I was stressed, I would like go into Tracy's office and just talk and be like, hey, I'm here. This is how my week was. And then she always has like a cabinet. There's a cabinet outside, but there's a cabinet in her office that's really good snacks. And so she will always save the peanut M&Ms for me. But I just really love talking to not only the students, but Tracy and Christina, because like it's their job to know and put on programming and like care about us. So I really love them.
I second every word of that. They're like the engineering mothers.
Yeah.
So moving on, how has your experiences been in the dorms as a Black student? Have you felt included, and can you give examples of that?
Did you say in the dorm?
In the dorms or residence halls?
That's an interesting question. I feel like yes, included, but also there's just going to be people that you meet that have clearly never encountered Black people before, or have just had very little interaction with Black people in the past. So, I always had people asking me about my hair, or like, oh, wow, that's so cool, man. Like, how do you do it like that? Or just, a variety of microaggressions where people just don't intend to do it, but they do it out of ignorance. And that's something that I felt like happened to me a lot freshman year. And that's definitely not a USC problem. Like, I'm sure at any of the colleges that you guys are looking at, that is something that could occur.
I would say for me, I didn't have too many of the microaggressions, but it seemed like a cultural difference in like how we treated our spaces. So I lived in a triple my freshman year, and I lived with 2 other Black girls, and then everyone else on our floor was not Black, and just the way they treated their spaces, it could tell there was a cultural difference of like, okay, we as Black women know that we should treat our like bathroom space and our floor space nice. And I lived on a floor called Women also, from Grant, 2nd floor, don't live there. But it was a difference in that. I would say that was the biggest difference as a Black woman. Just like, I feel like we know what is right and have a little bit more home training than some other people. So that was my experience.
Did anyone here get a chance to live in Somerville at all, or want to speak on that?
Yeah, I lived in Somerville. I lived in my year, it was there was only one suite that was all guys, and the other 3 were all girls. It was really fun. Like, being around Black people from all different corners of the country was really nice. And there wasn't like any like drama or anything like that. It was just like fun times, really. But then people on other floors didn't really like socialize much with us, just because they're like, oh, the 5th floor is the Black floor, like that's them, that's their separate living. So it was kind of hard to like socialize outside of like the Black freshman community that I lived with. But I definitely never like wondered what the other side was like, because I just had so much fun with like living with like other Black people my age for the first time. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I was a frequent visitor to Somerville last year. Or 2 years ago. Wow. Okay, that's crazy.
We're old now.
So taking from that, what are some of the frustrations that you have with USC as it is now? I know there's a lot going on in the world, and we have seen some of these things come to light. Maybe you can speak on that.
I feel like some of the offices, like the financial aid office or like the financial services office, are like really unavailable. Like it's really hard to like get in contact with them, because you'll be on hold for like hours at a time, or you'll submit a document and it won't really go through. But I've realized that like persistence is key with all those offices. So like it really just kind of comes down to how much you want to talk to them about, like maybe some error they made, or like how you could fix something, or like let them know more information about you.
I would say that, there's just been a lot of things that have gone on this year, specifically in regarding like the Black Lives Matter movement. And there are definitely some times where it feels like USC only responds to these incidents via email, to all students, or however they might do it just to save face, and they don't actually mean what they're doing. And there's an Instagram page called Black at USC, I think it's called, that kind of like details just the different experiences that people have had at USC. And they're completely aware of this. And sometimes it doesn't feel like the actions that they're taking are really meaningful. Like they just hire diversity heads or chief officers in different spots and send out surveys and whatnot. But I just feel like the work needs to be more impactful and have a real reason versus just being like, oh, we need to do this to not look like racist or to try and support our Black students.
I would agree with Kendall's point. It's kind of frustrating to be repeating yourself kind of over and over again, like to say that your life matters and that you're not just on this campus to be a number or to be a ploy. I feel like in engineering, it's a little bit different because we really do have a great Dean of Diversity and Strategic Initiatives, Dean Brandy Jones. But sometimes it's just like, we had a conversation with her recently, some NSBE students, just about like how it was the dean's first time kind of noticing, oh, like this is a problem, like this is actually happening, and these experiences, these microaggressions that we're facing are like feelings of like otherness in class or whatever is happening. It's kind of frustrating that we have to like examine like the trauma kind of comes back up again when we're trying to explain it. So I feel like that frustration of just believe we said it, here it is, here's all the evidence, and like just do what you need to do to get it solved. Is kind of like my frustration. I don't want to keep going through all of those like bad moments anymore. So.
Thank you all for sharing on that. We also have another question from Xavier asking, with some of the initiatives that USC has in place, are we seeing an increase in the number of African-American engineering students at Viterbi? And how does Viterbi do better or compare to other schools in increasing their Black population in STEM?
I should know the answer to this as former membership chair, but I'm honestly not sure how efforts are compared to other schools at least.
So how do you feel your experience at USC would have compared with HBCU? I know it's a little challenging because none of us have actually ever experienced life on campus of an HBCU, but if you could try to gauge how that would be.
I think life would be completely different if I went to an HBCU. I don't know why. Like, I guess it's hard for me to really say just because I also went to like a high school that was predominantly white. So I've only been like usually in like the minority of students. So like, I feel like going to an HBCU like kind of takes away like all the like microaggressions that you may have experienced, like going to a PWI. But really a part of like becoming like a global citizen is like kind of experiencing the diversity and like ideas, diversity and like experiences and like where people are coming from. So I think that I've grown in a different direction because I went to USC and am an engineer at USC. And I would have probably grown equally, but in a different direction if I had gone to an HBCU.
Yeah, I would just I agree with Tawfiq's point. I'm not sure how life would have been at HBCU, but at a PWI, you definitely learn how to advocate for yourself more. I send lots of emails and reaching out to lots of people, trying to get the USC experience and all the resources of whatever I can pull out of it. So I feel like the resourcefulness that I've gained, like the ability to like prop myself up and be able to speak like why I'm worth this amount, has definitely been an area that I've grown. And how that would compare to HBC, I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like that's the way that I've grown at USC.
Thank you for that. Another question we have from the Q&A is anyone here part of a fraternity or sorority? And does joining one of those organizations help in becoming more comfortable with college life?
I guess in Greek, I am a member of the Iota Beta chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which is the first and finest Black sorority founded in 1908. I joined I joined in fall 19, and I joined on a line with 13 other girls. And I definitely think I feel like I was pretty adjusted with NSBE, but even like further entering the Black community and getting to know, I feel like majority of my friends were actually engineers. So getting to know some people in like pre-med and like different majors all over the university was really good. It's definitely been an experience that I don't know. I would say it's like that HBCU point. I don't know if I would have joined a sorority or a D9, Divine Nine, National Panhellenic Council sorority at the HBCU, since it's so hard to get into those there. But I definitely think I made the right choice in joining Alpha Kappa Alpha. I've grown a lot in different aspects as a leader. We just had a meeting today, and one of my main things is doing a lot of voter registration events. And so I feel like that being like putting on programming, like what I do in SBO, putting on programming, but especially like gearing it towards the Black community and just getting to work with a lot of other people has been really good. And then I would also say it's actually expanded my connections within LA, because being Greek, you're not just Greek at USC, you're Greek in California and in the whole nation and in the whole world. So you see someone with the AKA license plate, and then you throw up the sign and you're like, hey, pencil or whatever. So being able to connect with other people, not just people your age, but people older than you, is also really great. So I think it's definitely been a beneficial experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Perfect. Thank you, Jessica. And is anyone else here part of a fraternity or sorority? No. I don't think it's necessary to join a fraternity or a sorority to be comfortable in college life. I know I have a lot of friends that are also in fraternities, and they have a lot of fun, but USC is definitely a big enough school to find your niche without one of those organizations, if that is something you guys are concerned with. And then we have a great question from Mario. Do you feel that there is an equal amount of support from professors being a Black student, or how has those disparities come to light?
I would say no. And I feel like the main reason I say no is that professors are not going to be aware of what it's like to be a Black student in engineering. Like, that's just not on their radar. And one of the things that NSBE does is we have evening with faculty, and we will invite our professors specifically to come and learn about, our grievances, our challenges that we've had, and what it means to be a Black student in engineering. And I've definitely had some professors who have just been wowed by the statistics, like, wow, I didn't know that there were that many few Black students, or I didn't know that you guys had to deal with X, Y, and Z. So I would say, just objectively speaking, no, but NSBE tries to go out of our way and bring faculty to these meetings and show them kind of like what it's like from our perspective.
Would anyone else like to give their response on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Kendall said. I'm sorry, Jessica. I feel like a lot of professors don't realize like how tough it is sometimes to just like be like the one Black kid in a whole like engineering class, where like you have to completely start over in terms of finding a study group, finding people to similarly ask questions with. But really, I've noticed that going to office hours and like getting in front of them, like they start to just realize that you're struggling and just treat you as like a student that like is trying to learn. So really it's you could curve it by trying a little bit harder, and it's kind of unfair that we have to do that, but
yeah, thank you. And so what do you guys like to do in your free time? Are there any other extracurriculars like the arts or sports that any of you are involved in? And how does it affect your schedule or time commitments in general?
So I can go first. I played volleyball all through high school, and now that we're not on campus, I can't do it anymore. But every Friday night, they'd have like open gym volleyball at one of the courts at Lions, and I'd go, and it'd be like the one thing I could look forward to, like like a hard week of midterm. Like Friday night, I get to play volleyball again. So that's just something I've done to like keep myself like active and keep myself like looking forward to something at the end of a hard week.
I do a little bit of skateboarding, so I'm not really going to parks anymore just because of COVID, but I'll go to parking lots or just areas around campus and kind of just go skateboarding with some friends. That's something that I do to take my mind off of classes and get a little bit of physical exercise. I've also taken a decent amount of design classes at the School of Art and Design, Roski, and that has been a pretty decent time commitment. Although the classes haven't been insanely hard, it just takes a lot of time to do the projects. But I really loved what I've learned in the design classes. Like I've learned just like illustration and painting and like typical design principles and just a lot of different topics that have been super useful, kind of like applying them to engineering. But yeah, the projects just take a lot of time. So I've had to navigate that. Had some really, really, really long nights in the past. So yeah.
Last semester, I've actually played the flute since I was in 4th grade. And last semester, I joined the Concerto Chamber Orchestra, which is like all the wind instruments, and we play a lot of wind and string instruments and classical music. I'm not going to be doing that this year, but I've been learning how to play the bass guitar since we've been quarantined. Once we get back to campus, I'm going to try to find a way to play this.
My sophomore year, I was involved with Women's Ultimate Frisbee, which was fun, and it was only a few times a week for like 3 hours around. And then I've also been involved in like going on hikes with SE Outfitters and Peaks and Professors. And the nice things about those is that you kind of just sign up whenever you want to go, so it's like completely flexible to your schedule. And it's really great like getting out of the area too and kind of like getting out in the outdoors. Especially Peaks and Professors is really cool because you get to go on a hike that's led with like a student lead and then also a professor, and then they'll usually like talk about like their discipline, like have like an interesting topic to talk about when you go. So that's been cool.
Perfect, thank you. And so both Taufik and Kendall had mentioned it a little bit, but Leslie would like to know, how has the pandemic impacted your experience at USC?
Completely. All classes are online currently. And yeah, I mean, learning wise, I think my classes have honestly been pretty okay. I think the professors have managed to find ways to circumvent being in the classrooms. But just from like a sheer studying perspective, like it's not easy to go and study with your friends. We don't have the Center of Engineering Diversity open right now. So just like a lot of crucial things that would just help with collaboratively working, because at USC engineering is very collaborative. You know, it's not a competitive environment at all. So just like getting help from people has been harder. And yeah, just not having those labs has also been rough.
Would anyone else like to give a response?
Yeah, I think the same thing for me, like not being able to go in person, you know, collaborate with your friends. Also not being able to like be in person with professors and get the like one-on-one help is a bit difficult, like doing it through Zoom. Especially like one of my classes, we're learning a new software, which is like kind of how do you like get help through, you know, like a computer program. It's a lot easier to like get the help in person. So it's like an adjustment to get used to, but like everybody's doing it, so we're getting the hang of it.
For me, in addition, I feel like classes thus far have been going okay. I agree with Kendall on like being able to see Tracy Christie in the Center for Engineering University, or just like meeting with people for lunch. It's kind of weird to see my family. And then I'm also on the East Coast, so this 3-hour time difference, my latest class ends at 11. So that's been a little bit of adjustment with like when do I wake up? When do I go to sleep? When do I study? Scheduling that. So that's been probably the biggest thing for me since I'm living at home.
Yes, thank you. And so we are coming up to time, but the last question that I wanted to ask is, why did you all pick USC? And more importantly, why do you stay at USC?
Well, I chose USC because of the alumni network. I felt like I'd be connected for the rest of my life if I could say that like I graduated from USC. But the reason that I've really stayed at USC is because of the people I've met along the way. And that's not just like classmates, that's also certain professors, some of them in AME that like, or mechanical engineering, that like really support you, really care about like your interest and like trying to get you into the industry of your choice. And I've also met like a couple of, I've had multiple jobs at USC, but all my bosses have been really supportive, and like they've reached out to me throughout this pandemic, like asking if I'm okay. Even though they can't like pay me or anything, they're just like checking in to see how I'm doing and everything. So yeah.
For me, one of the big things was I wanted to go out of state. And so like all the schools that I had applied to are out of state, but my fall before I applied for USC, I went to like a prospective students event in Houston. And so there was like reps there that came and like talked about USC as a whole and like just like the Trojan family, the academics, the opportunities to get involved. And then they also had like breakout groups where you could go like based on whatever department you were interested in. So I went to the one for Viterbi and heard like a rep talk about like all the different engineering programs. And honestly, like after that night, I was like, I have to go to USC. Like this is like my top choice. And so like when I got in, I went. And then I think for me staying was definitely like, have like a really great community here. I've met so many amazing people. Just there's been like so many opportunities to get involved. There's so many clubs to get involved with. There's so much to do in the area as well. So I think like USC just has everything that I was looking for in a college experience. And honestly, like it's been the best 3 years that I've had so far.
I think for me, I have a lot of reasons why I chose USC. The first being the support that I needed as a Black woman in engineering. So like we talked about the Center for Engineering Diversity, and at the time, NESB was the like best chapter in all of the country. So I was like, I gotta go there. And the Center for Black Cultural and Student Affairs. Second was academics. I'm in the civil engineering building science program. So I do a lot of like engineering, but also architecture and design studios, which I really appreciated. Also like Taufik, the Trojan family and the network, like both internships I've gotten have been through networking with Trojans. So having that connection. And then just an opportunity to be in the city. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area, but I wanted to be able to interact and like go to concerts in LA, go to the California African American Museum, explore a lot of culture that I got exposed to by being in the DC area, but at a much larger scale. And then I'd say the reason why I stay is honestly like the things that I'm involved in. I say this all the time, but I like if I didn't have to do class, I could just like do stuff for NESB or do stuff for AKA or do stuff for the Institute of Transportation Engineers, like I would do that because I don't know, it just like I really like being able to help other people and like learn more about new things and connect with alumni or like industry professionals. So it's been really great to just like have a community that I can like give back to and then like feed from. It's just I really love like the USC community and like being able to explore so many different things.
Yeah, for me, I would say it's the amount of opportunity that USC has to offer. And so coming into college, I really wanted to study abroad, and that was the only thing that I like made sure that I did in college. And so USC has a study abroad program called Viterbi Summer Overseas, and there's also programs through the College of Letters and Sciences where you can go abroad as an engineering student. And so I did that my freshman year summer because I was something that I really wanted to do, but also the support systems that are in place, kind of like Jessica and Kendall had stated, because there is a lot of support systems for Black students there, whether it be the Center for Engineering Diversity or NSBE, and even like professional development with NSBE, but not only, like with the Viterbi Career Center. And so Viterbi puts on a career fair, and that's where I actually got my internship this past summer. So I worked with Northrop Grumman, and it was just putting myself out there at the career fair, and I was able to meet with some managers and get an interview and get hired for the summer, which was pretty great. All of those things coupled together is why I stay at USC. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here, and would love to see more Black students on campus. So yeah, and I think that is wrapping up for our Q&A portion for tonight. So once again, thank you all for attending tonight, and it's been a pleasure having you all here. Thank you to all of the panelists for sharing your stories as well, and have a good night.
And we're back. Thanks, Mark, and to the live chat team for putting that together. I think it's a super important conversation for all of us to take a listen to.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you so much for helping to coordinate that event and getting everybody on and moderating that panel. When you look back on it and kind of remembering the conversation that everybody just heard right now, what was kind of your biggest takeaway from that? What was like the moment that you're like, God, I'm glad we're having this conversation?
I think the one of the biggest parts was when we were like, they were discussing, I think it was probably after, but they were saying with, I think with Dr. Finley, that there's only like 2 Black tenured faculty members here. And that's when I was like, whoa, and it really opened my eyes. And then Kendall was also talking about how from the like university perspective, it's kind of a little performative. And so like the university is kind of fully aware that the Black at USC Instagram account is there, but they haven't really done anything about it. Whereas it's been more of like, we stand with our Black students, at least like from what we have seen. And so I thought that was kind of important to mention.
What do you think is something that each of our prospective students out there that are Black is something that they should know, or what's the best advice that you have for them as they kind of go through this process of looking at universities and colleges, and specifically when they think about engineering or STEM fields?
I mean, specifically for engineering, I would say try to look for any college or university that has a good support system for minority students. I know it's a big issue because a lot of the minority populations in engineering schools are relatively small. And if you don't have that good support group, like I did with CED and like the Viterbi Summer Institute, it would be a lot tougher because you don't have that friend group that's always there to back you up.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much. Well, I don't think there's much more that we need to update everybody on today. Thank you so much, Mark, for bringing this bonus episode, and stay tuned as we see you next week for another episode.
Thanks,
Sounds good.
Bye.